That's generally considered one of the best songs of 1988, if not the entire decade. That was The Church, of course, with Under the Milky Way from the Starfish record. And The Church, of course, an Australian rock band, legendary at this point. They've been around for 30 years now. And The Church are coming to our area. That's right, they're playing the City Winery next Thursday night in New York City, so go and see him. And if you haven't made up your mind yet, hopefully this guy will do that for you. He's the bassist and lead singer of The Church, also the main songwriter. Steve Kilbey is with us. And, you know, this current tour you're on, Steve, is sort of like backtracking, and I mean that in a literal sense, because you're doing a career retrospective, yet you're starting with your current stuff and then working backwards. Was that your idea?
That was not my decision. Marty Wilson Piper thought of that idea, and he just came up with it one day and said, we'll have a program and something about each album, and then we just sort of had a bit of a discussion coming backwards and forwards about which songs they were going to be, and Bob's your uncle.
You know, reviews I've read online talk a lot about the intimate nature, obviously, of the shows you're doing, because I should point out these are acoustic performances, and that there's a lot of humorous banter.
Yeah, there's a lot of humorous banter. Yeah, it's a bit of a showbiz routine, this show. We've abandoned our icy demeanor from a long time ago, and we're sort of funny old devils now.
When you play, especially, you know, your older material, well, obviously it is an acoustic setting, so the songs are performed differently. The arrangements are different. Yeah.
They've wandered. They're changed. They're all changed. They've all changed and meandered, and they're all different. If that's what you're going to say.
Sure.
Yeah. No, we do embellish and strip them down and strip them back, and sort of. Some songs have even got different chords. For example, in Unguarded Moment, one of our earliest hits, in an earlier version, in the original version, it went to an E minor, which sort of creates, as people know, the minor chord creates sort of a feeling of sort of sadness and sort of tension. In our new version, we go to an E seventh, which is kind of more of a relaxed, sort of a humorous chord. For example, small subtle things like that the audience probably aren't even going to actually pick up on, but they'll feel.
So you basically start off with Untitled 23, and you're playing one song
from each album. Yeah, I'm working all the way down.
I see.
And we even need an intermission, which is something the church has never had before.
Yeah, because I would imagine that's a pretty long show.
It's a long show. It's over 2 hours.
Wow. And then you wind up with something from Of Skins and Hearts.
We do, yeah. and then we break the rules when we do the encore, and we don't stick to anything then.
Right.
Break wildly free.
So what has the reaction been so far on this tour?
Very nice, very good. People laughing and crying, and that's just in the queue to get in. And No, it's been good. People really like it. It's a very, for some people, the church has sort of been the soundtrack of their lives. That's what people come and say. You know, I've been listening to you guys for 25 or 30 years, and, you know, it's great to hear all the songs. And, yeah, it's a bit of a, it's a happy and a nostalgic. I always say to the, thanks for having a tiptoe down memory lane with us. It's sort of quite a nostalgic show. Well,
why don't we tiptoe down memory lane for a moment and hear the song we were talking about a moment ago. From 1981, here's The Unguarded Moment by The Church. We'll be back with more from Steve Kilbey right after this. From the debut album by The Church, a song you'll hear if you go and see him next Thursday at the City Winery, The Unguarded Moment from Of Skins and Heart, 1981. And Steve Kilbey from The Church is our guest tonight on the show. And considering The Church have been around for 30 years, as I mentioned before, how do you keep it fresh when you go into a studio and make a new record?
I don't know how we do, actually. We just do. We've the dynamics of the personalities in the band, we kind of we're pushing each other all the time. We're very critical of each other. We're very critical of ourselves. We have very high kind of musical standards, and we're still having a lot of fun, and we're still urging each other onward to to that perfect night where everything goes perfectly, and it never does. So no, we do have an inbuilt dynamic that keeps things moving along.
Is there any chance of these shows being recorded for maybe a DVD or something?
Some have been recorded for DVD. The church has been recording songs for DVD for like the last 10 years now, and we never seem to. That is the modern world: record lots of stuff and then get someone to sort through it later. But we've never quite had the sorting through later process.
Well, you've probably got a backlog, like a vault.
Huge vault.
Yeah.
We do. We have a huge vault of unrecorded live visual stuff, and at the moment there's a guy who's starting to slowly sift through it.
I understand that anyone who goes to the show, I don't know if this is true, but they get an EP from you.
They do, and it's not just a rubbishy old EP where we said let's do something kind of a bit dodgy. Mm-hmm. We actually made a beautiful EP with some of the best stuff we've ever done, and we're giving it away for free. And also a program, a 28-page program, which has got Marty from the church went through and wrote something about each album, and then we got critics at the time, what they said about each album. So it's quite a historical sort of crash course on the church.
You know, the group has such a unique sound. You know, you really can't categorize it. And over time, of course, everything's changed and progressed. And what were you listening to when you first got into music? What inspired you guys?
I was always into music. My dad was a piano player, but sort of then when the Beatles and the Rolling Stones came along, I was into that. I was into that all the way. Bob Dylan. And I ended up really being into T-Rex and David Bowie back in the 70s, just before I sort of started playing myself. So I sort of, the Beatles and Dylan and the Stones and all the bands that came after them, and then sort of T-Rex and David Bowie were sort of my last big influences before I sort of started doing it myself. So it's a kind of, for me, I've got a kind of a weird mixture of the sort of traditional rock and roll guys and then a bit of glam rock at the end.
Do you hear new music that you enjoy?
I do every now and then. I hear something I like. But sort of being old and curmudgeonly, I don't take to it as easy as I used to a long time ago when I hear something new. I'm sort of a bit more jaded, you know. But I've got young daughters that listen to Lady Gaga, and every now and then I don't mind that too much. I sort of admire her more than I like her music, but I like people that do stuff for themselves, you know, and like she does, rather than someone sitting there with some songwriting machine churning stuff out for them.
Yeah, it's always that same guy in Sweden.
It's always that guy in Sweden. I was almost going to say it's a songwriting team in Sweden knocking stuff out, Max Martin. Yeah.
Right, yeah. You know, it's funny, though, because you mentioned the Stones and the Beatles and also the glam rock period. It's funny, though, that here all these years later, those are still like the big influences on bands, even new bands coming up.
Yeah, something weird's happened with rock and roll. It's kind of become fossilized, like trad jazz or folk music, and nothing new really happens. Everybody still worships the same guys that we all did at the dawn of time, at the dawn of the era, you know, the Beatles and all those guys. Yeah, no, that's rock's glory and also rock's tragedy, that we haven't really come up with anything new.
Well, you certainly have, because you're continuing to put out records. In fact, we're going to play something from Untitled number 23.
That's great.
Hope you don't mind if we play Space Savior from that record. That was always my favorite track.
Please do.
Love that song. And once again, I want to point out to everybody that the 22nd, the church at the City Winery. And what is the official name of this tour? An Intimate Space. And that's precisely what audiences will enjoy.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Steve.
Thanks, man.
Especially on this surprise interview.
Surprise interview. Yeah. I better go up and see if there's any more surprises now.
There might be more surprises during the day.
Okay, man.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.